Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for yielding. I thank my colleague across the aisle for his support of this legislation, and I would also like to thank all of my colleagues in the Illinois delegation for co-sponsoring this legislation to name the post office for Abner J. Mikva. Ab is, as my colleague mentioned, one of the few Americans to hold the distinction of serving in all three branches of the federal government. You know, when Abner Mikva was a young man, he went to the office of a Chicago ward committeeman asking to volunteer. And his offer was rebuffed with the remark, "We don't want nobody sent." Well, unswayed, Abner Mikva devoted his life to public service and to politics. Abner Mikva was born in 1926 in Milwaukee. He enrolled in the Army Air Corps in 1944, serving as a navigator in the Army Air Corps during World War II. In 1951, he received a law degree from the University of Chicago, and after graduation served as a clerk to Associate Judge Sherman Minton on the Supreme Court. In 1956, Abner Mikva was elected to the Illinois General Assembly, where he served for 5 consecutive terms. He was then elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1968, where he represented the Southside Hyde Park neighborhood of Chicago, that's Barack Obama's neighborhood. And after redistricting in 1971, Ab Mikva moved to Evanston. In 1974, he won the election to represent Illinois' 10th Congressional District, which was based at that time in Evanston, my hometown. Abner Mikva was elected in 3 consecutive elections to represent the people of Evanston and the surrounding North Shore communities in the United States House. His campaigns were notable for their involvement of thousands of young people in his robust grassroots election effort. 18-year-olds had recently been granted the constitutional right to vote, and he recruited and enlisted many of them. And many of these young people became effective political organizers, transforming the nature of political campaigns over the last 4 decades. Ab Mikva was nominated in his 3rd term as an appointee to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, where he served alongside jurists Clarence Thomas, Antonin Scalia, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. During his final 4 years on the D.C. court, Abner Mikva served as chief judge. He was then selected by President Bill Clinton in 1994 to the White House Counsel. After a year as White House counsel, Abner Mikva returned to the Chicago area and taught at Northwestern University in Evanston. In 1997, Abner Mikva and his beloved wife and partner Zoe started what they called the Mikva Challenge, his effort to engage young people in civic leadership. Each year, the Mikva Challenge engages 7,000 young people, students, in programs across the Chicagoland area. These are high school kids. Students volunteer on campaigns of both parties, serve as election judges, intern in legislative offices, and learn how to be effective advocates on issues they care the most about. In 2014, President Obama recognized Abner Mikva's service to this country with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, our highest civilian honor. When honoring Ab Mikva, President Obama said, "Ab transcends any single moment in recent political history, but he had a hand in shaping some of the best of it." And Abner Mikva said that receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom from his friend Barack Obama was, quote, "the greatest thing that ever happened to me." Abner Mikva remains a revered fighter in Illinois and a favorite son of Evanston, remembered for his enduring wit, humanity, and the ongoing legacy of the Mikva Challenge. And let me just say personally that on July 4th, 2016, while America lost a great patriot, I also lost a very precious friend and mentor, and I am so happy that we are going to pay an appropriate tribute to his great memory and his legacy.